For 80 years, the US dollar has been the undisputed king of the world. It dictates oil prices. It defines global trade. It is the bedrock of civilization as we know it. But beneath the marble pillars of global finance, something is shifting. A quiet, yet profound movement is underway. Nations are making deals. Currencies are being hoarded, and the whispers in the highest chambers of finance are growing louder. The king is dying. This isn't just about economics. This is a geopolitical earthquake that could rewrite the map of power. What happens when the world decides it no longer needs the US dollar? The answer is a crisis unlike any we have faced. This is the story of D-dollarization. To understand the threat, we must understand the crown. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement cemented the dollar's dominance. It made the US the world's banker. But the real moment of power came later. In the 1970s, a pact with Saudi Arabia created the petrodollar system. Essentially, every nation that buys oil, which is every nation, must first convert its own money into US dollars. This created artificial, perpetual demand. This power granted America an exorbitant privilege. We could print mountains of paper and export our inflation to the rest of the world. A beautiful deal, if you are the one holding the printing press. But this privilege relies on one thing: trust. Trust in the stability of US government, and trust that the US will not use the dollar as a weapon. That trust began to fracture. The 2008 financial crisis showed that the banker wasn't always stable. Then, the weaponization began. The US sanctioning of Russia in 2022 was the turning point. $500 billion of Russian foreign reserves were frozen overnight. For countries like China, India, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia, this sent a simple, chilling message. Any nation that falls out of favor with Washington can have its wealth instantly evaporated. Suddenly, the US dollar wasn't a universal tool. It was a ticking time bomb. Enter the BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This bloc, and its new expansion members, represent a powerful counterweight. They don't want to replace the dollar with the yuan or the rupee. They want to bypass the dollar completely. The mechanism is simple: bilateral trade agreements. Russia selling oil to India in rupees. China trading goods with Brazil in yuan. The dollar is slowly being cut out of the chain. Think of it like a global highway. The dollar is the single, required toll booth. De-dollarization is simply building parallel toll-free roads. This isn't a sudden collapse. It's a slow, quiet, strategic strangulation. The final straw: gold. Nations like China and Turkey are aggressively stockpiling the physical metal. Gold is neutral. It cannot be sanctioned. They are exchanging digital promises for hard, physical security. A clear signal they are preparing for a world where American promises mean less. The breaking point won't be a single moment. It will be an accumulation of tiny paper cuts. When the world reduces its need for the dollar, that perpetual demand vanishes. And what happens to something that is no longer demanded? It comes home. All those dollars held overseas by central banks, trillions of them flood back into the US economy. This is not deflation. This is a massive, sudden surge in the money supply inside the United States. The result: inflation that makes the last few years look like a picnic. Everything we import, from phones to pharmaceuticals, instantly becomes radically more expensive. The US government also loses its exorbitant privilege. No one wants to buy its debt anymore. Who will fund the trillion-dollar budget deficits? the interest rates on U.S. debt would skyrocket. The entire government funding mechanism becomes unstable. This is the moment of crisis. The loss of reserve status isn't just about pride. It's about a complete and brutal loss of economic flexibility. The political consequences are equally severe. When the money runs short, military and geopolitical influence wane. The era of projection ends. The American century was built on two pillars: military supremacy and financial dominance. The financial pillar is being eroded, brick by brick. The truth is, the war on the dollar has already begun. It's fought not with bullets, but with trade agreements, currency swaps, and gold bars. So what does this mean for your life? First, extreme volatility. The value of the dollar will become a chaotic roller coaster ride, making long-term planning impossible. Second, rising interest rates. Mortgages, car loans, and credit card debt will become punishingly expensive as the government competes for capital. Finally, the world order fragments. We move from a single, unipolar economic system to a multipolar world, less stable, less predictable, and far more competitive. The power vacuum created by the $dollar's decline will be filled by others. The lesson from history is clear. Reserve status is borrowed, not inherited. It is earned through trust and responsibility. We are now watching the cost of that trust being abused. The nations of the world are simply exercising their right to financial self-preservation. The fate of the dollar is no longer in Washington's hands. It is in the hands of the creditors who no longer wish to use it. The king may die slowly, but when he falls, the world shakes. The question remains, are you prepared for the end of the American century?